The original Peugeot 3008 was first introduced in 2008, and while it was a valiant first attempt at a crossover SUV to rival the Nissan Qashqai, it wasn't exactly everyone's first choice. 2017 saw the introduction of the second generation 3008, and it signaled the arrival of the impending Peugeot Renaissance, which is still going on today. While the second generation was pretty great already, in 2020 Peugeot facelifted and updated the 3008 lineup. Have they made it even better? Today we're gonna find out. My name is Korr, and you're watching Korr's Auto Tours. So this is the facelifted 2021 Peugeot 3008. As ever, this car falls neatly into the mid-size crossover segment here in Europe. Our tester is the Active Pack trim level, which is one above the base Active. The trim levels start with Active and go all the way to the fully loaded GT. Here in Macedonia, the Active Pack and similarly equipped versions will be the volume sellers. Let's talk about the new stuff on this facelifted model. The biggest changes are on the outside, specifically with the front and rear end styling. The front now features a new continuous grille which blends seamlessly with the bodywork. The headlights are now slimmer, and the lion's tooth daytime running lights are also slimmer and a little bit taller. Good time to mention that LED headlights and taillights are standard across the whole range. The rear end features slightly revised taillights with the light pieces themselves being black instead of red, as well as new LED turn signals. Unfortunately, the new 3008 missed out on the new Peugeot logo. The side profile remains the same, and you might have noticed the Power of Choice hashtag. This is because the new 3008 offers a diverse lineup of powertrains including gasoline, diesel, and plug-in hybrids, but more on that in a second. Overall, I'm a huge fan of the way the 3008 looks. It's not obnoxious like some of the competition, and in my opinion, the facelift has made it look even better. Especially the GT version, which now gets an optional black trim package and the new 18-inch alloy wheel design. Moving on to the powertrain. Like I said previously, the 3008 offers a very diverse lineup of powertrains. Our tester has the 1.5-liter 4-cylinder diesel with 130 horsepower, paired to a 6-speed manual transmission. An 8-speed automatic is also available, and it's standard on the two plug-in hybrid version. You can also get the 1.2-liter PureTech 3-cylinder like in the 2008 I drove, as well as a 1.6-liter PureTech 4-cylinder with 180 horsepower. The latter is only available on the GT models though. Finally, let's talk about the hybrids. There are two. The Hybrid 225 features a 1.6-liter turbo 4-cylinder paired to an electric motor, totaling in 225 horsepower. New for the facelifted 3008 is the Hybrid 300, which uses the same setup, but the electric motor is moved to the rear, making it all-wheel drive. This is the only way you can get all-wheel drive on the 3008. Otherwise, you'll have to make do with Peugeot's grip control system, but that's only available on cars with 18-inch wheels. Time to climb inside the new 3008. As this is the Active Pack with the smaller infotainment screen, there aren't really that many differences between this car and the pre-facelift on the inside. On the higher spec versions, more upscale trim packages and the 10-inch high-definition infotainment system like the one in the 2008 are available. This is a slightly earlier iteration of Peugeot's now familiar iCockpit, and you can tell. More on that later though. The door panel has the same carbon fiber look lining as the 2008, and the armrest area is very nicely padded. Interior quality is very solid, and the design itself is unique and nice to look at. Before we continue, we have to start up the 3008. The starter button's right next to the shifter. Just depress the clutch and press the button to get going. As you can see, this car also has the iCockpit digital gauge cluster. This is an earlier version of the unit, meaning that it's not 3D like in the 2008. Still, the graphics are very clear and easy to read. The steering wheel is leather wrapped as standard, with 2 spokes and multifunction controls on either side, as well as the Peugeot inscription right below the airbag. As mentioned previously, this particular 3008 is equipped with the standard 6-speed manual transmission. The shifter action is very satisfying, even more so than the 2008, and from my experience, the ergonomics of the shifter definitely contribute to that. To engage reverse, push the catch at the front, then to the left and up. The rear view camera is standard equipment, as well as front and rear parking sensors. As you can see, there are also 4 different selectable views. Something small worth mentioning, you do also have an electronic parking brake as standard. As you can see, the 3008 also has a set of piano keys and other shortcut buttons below the infotainment system. The knob on the left is obviously your volume control and mute button for the stereo. The piano keys themselves take you to various menus in the infotainment system, with your hazard lights on the far right. Below the piano keys, the textured buttons control your defrost functions, recirculating air, as well as your power locks. While the piano keys themselves are nice to press, they don't have quite the same tactile feedback as the newer ones. Not really an issue, just something to point out. And now it's time to talk about the infotainment system. The operating system itself is identical to that of other Peugeot models, but this car has the standard 8-inch display. It was pretty responsive and easy to use from my experience, but I couldn't help but noticing that the graphics were a little bit grainy and low resolution. If infotainment and screens are important aspects to you, I would suggest getting the larger 10-inch screen. As you'd expect, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both standard. That's more important than you might think on this particular car because it is not equipped with navigation. I also had a bit of a problem connecting my phone to the system, but the Apple device I connected worked flawlessly. It's also worth pointing out that most of the climate controls are tucked into the screen. While not a huge deal for me, it could get a little distracting, so be careful. Other stuff worth mentioning in the interior includes this little display on the overhead console that shows you which one of your passengers have their seatbelt buckled. Overhead lighting controls are right here, and higher trim levels also get ambient lighting. Interior storage is pretty good too. There's a big glove box, a pretty big center console, and some big door pockets as well. Like I said before, this car gets the iCockpit digital gauge cluster as standard. It's not 3D, but the graphics are very clear and easy to see. I especially love the tachometer, which goes counterclockwise like in old Aston Martin models. Obviously, the layout is configurable with a few different selectable views. One of these displays revealed this car's average fuel economy. For a relatively large vehicle, 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers is an excellent figure, especially for driving around in the city. Now it's time to check out the rear seats in the 3008. This car seats 5 passengers, and 3-row seating is not offered. If you want 7 seats, you'll have to step up to the slightly bigger but very similar 5008. Space in the back is very good. For reference, I'm 5'11" tall, and the driver's seat is in my driving position, and there's still plenty of knee room and headroom. Rear seat passengers also get their own climate vents and a 12-volt power outlet for charging devices. There's also a 12-volt outlet in the front that I forgot to mention, as well as a USB port for connecting up to the infotainment system. Finally, both front seats have little pockets in the back of them for storing various items. Next up, the class-leading cargo area in the 3008. It's massive. The 3008 easily beats some of its closest rivals on cargo capacity, boasting 520 liters with the rear seats up. There's also little storage pockets on either side of the cargo area, as well as handles that allow you to fold the rear seats down easily. As you can see here, there's also a 12-volt power outlet, and there's also an adjustable cargo floor with a secret storage compartment below. With the rear seats folded down, the total cargo capacity in the 3008 is 1,482 liters, which is very, very impressive. Before we go drive the 3008, let's check out the key fob. It's the familiar Peugeot design with 3 buttons: lock, unlock, and lights. When you unlock the 3008, the daytime running lights flash several times in a unique pattern. Holding down the lights button will turn on the exterior lighting, allowing you to find your car more easily in the dark. I still think that a tailgate release button would be an excellent addition. Now it's finally time for the test drive. The time I had with the 3008 allowed me to sample it in the city only, but that's okay. It's a very easy car to drive in town thanks to the lightweight steering and the excellent shifter action. As you can see in these clips, we connected an Apple device to the infotainment system via CarPlay, and it worked flawlessly. The high driving position is definitely a plus point, and this is also a good time to mention that there's a good amount of adjustment in the seating position and the steering wheel as well. Another thing that surprised me was how refined the engine was. Even though it's a diesel, don't let that discourage you. On the move with all the windows up, you would never be able to tell it's a diesel. The mirrors are quite big though, so that may contribute to a little bit of wind noise when you're going at higher speeds, say on the highway. One potential downside is that the steering wheel may or may not block your view of the instrument cluster depending on where you have it set up. This wasn't an issue for me, but depending on how you like to sit, this is just something to keep in mind. Another downside is that the A-pillar is quite thick and rear visibility is quite compromised. Especially so because I couldn't find a way to adjust the interior rearview mirror. Other than those little negatives, I'm very impressed with how this particular 3008 handles city driving. I have yet to sample one of the gasoline or hybrid models or one with an automatic transmission, but it should be an interesting comparison, especially the hybrid. Now it's a good time to mention some other things I noticed on the 3008. The standard sound system is excellent with good bass and very clear reproduction of audio. The clutch was a little jerky from my experience, but again, that may be due to the fact that I'm not a very good driver. While the rear view camera and parking sensors are nice to have, a 360-degree system would also be great for tighter spaces. The engine is very responsive if you need to get going quickly, and it's very relaxing when you're just cruising. The seats are very comfortable, and I forgot to mention earlier that I really like the seat fabric on this Active Pack model. All things considered, on the move, the 3008 performs exceptionally well. So that's the new Peugeot 3008. While not without a few minor flaws, this is a truly fantastic family SUV. Spacious, comfortable, great to drive, great choice of powertrains, well equipped, and, considering what you get, well priced. This particular active pack model with the 1.5 BlueHDI and 6-speed manual was priced at €28,633 with a promo discount included. Has the facelift made it even better? I would argue that yes, it has. If you're in the market for a compact SUV, the 3008 should definitely be high on your shortlist. The 2021 Peugeot 3008 gets a rating of 8.5 out of 10. And that's going to be about it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. There will be links in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.